Oh my, Magnum Opus 1.0 approaching. On this 5-part Top X, I will share the 50 best games I've played, and explain why you should also play them eventually. As these are only games I've played, for most, heavily, this isn't a fitting best 50 games of all time, so your favorite games may just be ones I haven't played yet. I'm also going to be limiting to one game per explicit series or line unless I feel a second really did something to make it stand out from the series. And compilations and remakes are fair game if I consider them on par or better than the games in their original release. This will keep my favorite long-running series from filling the list. Now for the final 10. Most people either know exactly what Worms is, or have no idea what the franchise is about. For those who don't, it is a turn-based strategy platformer starring foul-mouthed worms. You can shoot the enemy worms, throw explosives at them, hit them with a baseball bat, shoryuken them, or summon Armageddon, or a donkey statue. All of the terrain is destroyable, and if any worm falls below the water level, it is instant death. This version has some of the most weapons, which give the game its trademark identity. I don't know where they got the idea for explosive remote control flying sheep, or explosive and flatulent old ladies, but I'm not complaining. If your house rules ban some of the most OP weapons, the game can become very strategic as players hide from danger or construct barriers. This version also is one of the least glitchy. If Worms 3D was more stable, it might have been a tougher call. The Mega Man franchise contains several of the best NES games, so a collection of the NES classics plus 7 and 8 is a nice, easy way to access the series if you never track them all down. Plus you get 2 multiplayer Japan-only boss rush arcade games that pull in your favorite robot masters. Actually, those 2 arcade games are worth it on their own. I love those things. It's non-stop killing bosses, non-stop dopamine. There's not been an FPS on this list before this, because I don't enjoy that genre. So that should tell you something about this game. It is good, and not as shootery as it seems. I didn't know it was an FPS, I just knew people liked it. I also didn't know it would be surreal because the main character has my name. When I started, I thought, crap, this is an FPS. I guess I should at least give it a try though. In reality, and this is why I enjoyed it, it doesn't have to be a shooter. Actually, the pro way to play is to not shoot at all. Deus Ex is an open-world stealth RPG game with shooter and action elements. Whenever you are hugging a wall or taking cover, the game is third person. Not only that, but you can engage in hand-to-hand combat to take enemies down. The RPG comes in because you are a cyborg. Bad guys shot you up and your boss had you turned into a cyborg, because you can't even quit through dying. The mechanical parts you can level up range from letting you float to the ground from a terminal fall, walk and jump silently, hack computers, punch through walls, punch multiple guys at a time, and even turn invisible. My favorite way to play was to go invisible, punch some guys to death, eat a few candy bars so I can go invisible again and repeat. Or to go invisible, hack the computers, and turn the security turrets and robots against the enemy with my hacking skills. The layout of the game allows each player to tackle each challenge differently depending on how they upgrade themselves. And even the boss fights have several ways to win. Also, you have dialogue bosses, and have to be able to effectively coerce or calm your dialogue partner. It's a Wii U game everybody should give a try, even if they hate FPSs, like me. The entire Mother series is a lighthearted social commentary on modern society, the RPG genre, and humanity in general. It isn't hard to see a toy raise questions about socialism versus consumer capitalism in a tactful way. Or maybe it is an allegory for the Hebrew creation account, and the pig masks take innocence from Lucas's village. It Toei makes some of the smartest, most unique games, and Mother 3 is the perfect magnum opus, as it even examines familial bonds and death, and the battle system is the best in the series, with a rhythm mechanic and a lot of puzzle bosses. In my opinion, this is the pinnacle of the Battle Network series, and stands out for some very unique reasons. One of which being that it was followed by a very unbalanced, poorly designed, badly translated, lazy sequel, because when you refine something to near perfection, you obviously have to remake it completely! The first Battle Network was an experimental concept and needed a lot of refinements, which Battle Network 2 gave it, such as the style change system that changed your abilities based on how you play, and redesigned the internet with landmarks so it would be easier to navigate. Battle Network 3 refined everything further, with an easier to navigate internet, better balance and improved style system, the inclusion of the Navicust, and a truly massive post-game. The Navicust expanded customization with a jigsaw-like field to fill. Style changes also now gave special Navicust parts. There were new styles, and the game was better at deducing your playstyle. The special currency, Bug Frags, now could be easily farmed with skillful play, rewarding the player for playing extremely well. The post-game was huge, like I said, including many more boss versions to fight, including some grueling fights for only the most expert players. The game was a joy to play like no other Battle Network, and it just kept going and going, never feeling too tedious or unfair. The two core Paper Marios were a masterful fusion with Mario with RPG. Neither overshadowed the other, and they worked well in harmony. The story was unique and interesting. Many locations felt familiar, but very original, like fresh new takes, and other locations somewhat debuted in these games, like the rarely seen toy theme. While the Thousand-Year Door made many smart refinements, it added other things such as the roulette that could end a Pit of 100 Trials run on floor 94, and random hazards from the stage could rob you of an HP or two and give you a negative status effect in the worst situation. The first Paper Mario also had better level design, creating non-linear areas for locations you needed to move back and forth across. It had a more genuine feel. Picking a favorite Banjo game is a very sensitive subject, because there's a group that holds Banjo Kazooie as a masterpiece that was sullied by Banjo-Tooie, and another camp that thinks Tooie improved what Banjo Kazooie did. There's also a very small group that think Nuts and Bolts is the only good game. I'm obviously of the feeling Tooie tightened and refined Banjo Kazooie with improvements such as warp pads, no lives, and notes that stay collected. Unlike Banjo Kazooie, you can play Banjo-Tooie for 20 minutes at a time and get things done. Plus you have all the old moves, plus new ones, and you can play as Mumbo and use magic. The thing I like most about Banjo-Tooie is how the lines between worlds are blurred, making the game feel like one huge open world, with themed sections. The most common criticism I've seen about Banjo-Tooie is that jumping is rarely required, and that is inappropriate for a platformer collectathon. But then again, Super Mario 64 no jump runs are a thing, and it's not hard to get relatively far. I wonder if Banjo-Kazooie could be completed without jumping. I've always found miniaturism interesting and exciting. As a child, I thought about what the world would be like at the size of an ant. This is the surface appeal of Chibi-Robo. It looks like a game where you are tiny in Explorer House helping out and doing favors for people. That's not what it's about though. I guarantee you have grossly underestimated how deep of a game it is. Chibi-Robo is a lot closer to a survival game with open world elements. You start the game and will find yourself not wanting to venture too far from your home, or the outlets near your home, completing menial tasks, like picking up trash or scrubbing stains. And then you will get improved batteries and be able to go further and better explore the rooms and eventually house. Once your battery grows large enough after a few days, you will find yourself making temporary agendas for the night or the next day. Today, you don't have enough time to do anything in the daughter's room, but that night you're going to make a beeline and explore her room. You will find a large castle and realize with the current battery, it will take a flawless series of maneuvers after solving all the puzzles to get to the top with enough power to possibly get back. But once at the top, you'll realize you overestimated how much battery you had and barely be saved by the end of night that whisks you back to your chibi house. Or maybe after getting a new tool, you will dedicate the next cycle to putting it to use. Or maybe one cycle will be dedicated to one of the many side quests. Or just hunting enemies so you can build ladders, warp points, or bridges to open up access to new portions of the house. I don't want to spoil the story, but it takes an unexpected turn, several unexpected turns actually, and is worth experiencing without too many spoilers. As soon as you get the chance, play the first Chibi-Robo. It's not a secret I think the last story was better than Xenoblade. I meant that Xenoblade is one of the top 3 Wii games. I just think this is the best Wii game. And funnily enough, this game does a lot of Zelda things, some better than recent Zelda games. The antagonist for most of the game, Sangarak, has a striking likeness for Ganondorf. You can set your controls to direct sword swings, which I did, and every boss is a puzzle boss. And like Ganondorf being exploited by the weakest weapons, you should look for the silliest weapon in your inventory to take on Sangarak. Or you can do a lot of running in circles for 40 minutes slowly chipping him down like me. These puzzle bosses early on help you learn and master various mechanics, but later require the player to think cleverly. Thinking cleverly is what the game is all about. It is a squad-based stealth tactical RPG. In battle, you take cover and snipe enemies with your crossbow, or beat them to death with your sword. It is a lot of fun to play, but the story and music is also really good. Not mind-blowing or full of crazy twists, but still smart and mature like a Xeno game. It poo-poos xenophobia and generalized hatred is what I'm trying to say. The characters are well written, and not all good or bad. What impresses me more than anything, though, is the many, many little details. You can bump into and push people. You can knock them down. They notice if you stare at them. And you can even hit your head on hanging signs. And all of this is tracked by the game. And you get rewards for being a dick at terrorizing people. I've never seen a game pay attention to if you are staring at NPCs. When I first started on this list, I thought this game would make it somewhere, but I didn't expect it to be number 1. Although the game fixed or improved the problems in Xenoblade, even this game has problems like the other 50 games. Some are pretty bad too, but everything else this game does is home run after home run. The story is a masterpiece. Remember how Golden Sun makes Weyard feel like a living world? That's Xenoblade X between the mandatory story, the affinity missions, and the normal side quests that tell an impressive tale. Characters evolve and grow, and we learn about the cultures of the aliens you recruit, about their home and their societies. I like all of these aliens, even ones I initially expected to dislike. I appreciate because they are interesting and different. There are aliens, Sarubogans, who wear helmets, and I thought I wouldn't like them because they'd be harder to relate to. But they are pretty cool, even if less relatable. Although they claim they needed to live, they can get high off of nuclear waste with no consequences. And really chill alien stoners who like to take naps after getting high surprisingly works after several side quests explain how they smoke the nuclear waste through their Gorquas. A Zerobogan quest began asking me to convince a heretic to tolerate religious Zerobogans. But he asked me to prove the Zerobogan creation story was a lie, and that was a very interesting side quest that ended in the best possible way. Another alien I warmed up to were the insectoid Orphae. I don't want to spoil the most interesting thing about them, but wait until you see one die. It's a really creative concept. The only concept I would have liked to have seen is a trisex alien. Xenoblade X is a game that analyzed through the 4 lenses of game design has something for everybody. narrativism because of the story that pulls you in and builds a living world, Tetraism, or simple fun gameplay through the battle system, simulationism through all the exploration and management you can do, behaviorism in that you can spend time maximizing your probes to bring in the most Moranium and money and watch your riches soar as you cruise aimlessly through NLA. Behaviorism being the design principle used to make gambling addictive and profitable for casinos, and to addict and take money for mobile gamers. This is done through appealing to and exploiting psychological desires to manipulate the player's actions. Upon a good payout, a Xenoblade X player will realize they can go on a shopping or crafting spree if they desire. You can primarily focus your experience in any of those 4 areas, and reach the same conclusion eventually. I bet some of these longtime viewers expected, and others were very unexpected. Who would have thought Chibi-Robo would be number 3? It's a very underrated game, criminally. Episode question: what game do you think is criminally underrated and everybody should try, and why it should be tried? I went over the lenses pretty quickly, so check out this video that explains one of the lenses. He has covered the other lenses too. That's where I was introduced to the whole lens thing. Also, you might be interested in this video where Rare employees talk about the Banjo games and their development and everything they could have been. Oh, and when you pick up Xenoblade X, check this video out so you can have the most enjoyable experience possible. You know some of the principles and know what early decisions will make the game much harder and tedious.